Hi, Les from Retired and Living the Dream, and welcome to Thailand, the land of expensive mistakes if you let them happen. So let's avoid them. So let's move on to avoid these 5 big mistakes that many expats made. So welcome to Retired and Living the Dream, the channel that helps you retire to Thailand smarter, happier, and to avoid these 5 big mistakes that a lot of expats make. And trust me, I've seen most of these myself, talking to many other expats and many subscribers on the channel, and all of these 5 mistakes are easily to make, but once you know them, you can avoid them. So mistake number 1, understanding the cost of living in Thailand, because it's cheap, right? Everybody thinks it's cheap. So let's start with one big myth, the money myth. Most people picture coming to Thailand as cheap, 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 cheap for everything, cheap for food, cheap for rent, cheap for holidays, cheap for entertainment. But this can be actually further from the truth that you can imagine. But here's the twist, the lifestyle that you lead determines how much it costs to live here in Thailand. If you plan to live like a monk, that's great, that's very, very cheap. But if you live like a tourist that's forgot to go home, then expect some pain in your wallet. For example, imported foods are expensive. Buying Western food from supermarkets is expensive. Monthly trips, nights out, can add up to a very expensive stay here in Thailand. Your energy bills, because you're not used to the heat, using the AC 24 hours a day, racks up the electricity bill. Although electricity is much cheaper here than it is in the Western countries, it can still rack up to a certain amount. Currency fluctuations, that is a big issue at the minute. Currency fluctuations, and I know that because of the pound. In some months it makes a big difference. Something like 40 or 50 pounds a month can be knocked off the amount of disposable income you've got because of the currency exchange. And rents in popular locations, if you take it on a yearly basis, they can fluctuate also, especially in the tourist areas. You can expect to pay more the following year than you did this year. So track your spending, keep an eye on your budget, have a realistic budget, and get to love mango and sticky rice. Gone are the days living on 40,000 baht a month where you live like a king. Them days are well and truly gone. Mistake number 2, and this is more prevalent now, ignoring visa rules because I'll sort it out when I get there. That is a mistake number 2. Gone are the days where you do the visa hops to a different country and in and out the same day. Them days are gone. The immigration department are cracking down on visa runs, things like that. It's almost impossible now. So do your research with regard to the visas, because if you don't do your research, you might find one day that they won't let you back into Thailand. And we don't want that, do we? Gone are the days where the barstool warriors tell everybody, oh, just go and see Dave. Dave knows what to do with regard to getting a visa. He's another barstool warrior. Them days are gone. You need professional help and seek the advice of an agent. But in reality, go to the immigration department. The immigration department know the answers. They will tell you what you need to do. They are the best people to consult. Please don't be afraid of the immigration officer, because they're there to help you when all's said and done. In reality, the easiest way to do it is, before you come to this country, do your research, go through the Thai embassy and get a 90-day visa, and then you'll be able to spend at least 180 days in this country of Thailand. It's not difficult to do, but now you need to be a little bit more careful taking them steps. It isn't just a turn up and I'll sort everything out later, because that isn't going to happen anymore. Visas can change unexpectedly, and that's what's happened just lately. The rules have gone out the window and they're imposing stricter and tighter rules. Again, remember, you also have to do 90-day reports if you're on a retirement visa, proof of funds, and the extensions, you can only get 2 extensions in 1 year now, whereas before you used to get as many as you wanted. So if your strategy is that my mate Dave knows all about the visas and I'll ask him what to do, then that's really not the advice that you should be looking for. You need to look after yourself. Your friend Dave in the pub might know some of the answers, but he doesn't know all the answers. The immigration are the people who can tell you exactly what is required. So if you're coming over here to live full-time, research, research, research. Double check all the official sources, prepare all your financial documents and more. And for safety, assume that the immigration officer is in a bad mood, because they aren't the most tolerant people in the immigration office. They're dealing with this situation every day, and even they can be in a bad mood. Mistake number 3, moving to Thailand without healthcare provision, i.e. I'll be okay, I'm a healthy guy. So if your retirement plan is I'm fit and healthy and I'll never get sick, then you must believe in unicorns and 0-calorie pizzas also, because a lot of things can happen here in Thailand unexpectedly. You could have a motorcycle accident, you could get food poisoning where you could end up in a hospital. Many things like this can happen, as it can anywhere in the world. But if you have no funds here in Thailand, it can be a very, very costly mistake. Thailand has some excellent hospitals, and I've done some videos on the hospitals here in Thailand, both public and private. But if you want to go into the private hospitals, you better have deep pockets. But if you want to go to a public hospital, it's more affordable. But even the public hospitals can be costly if you've got an illness or sickness. My friend has been into the public hospital, and I'll give you some details on prices and how much he paid. And I've met some people also that thinking travel insurance isn't worth it with a 300,000 to 400,000 baht hospital bill because they've had an accident on the motorbike and things like that. Even if you're coming over here for a 2-week holiday and you're old and you think, oh, I'm not going to pay that type of price, I'm okay, I'll just be careful. We never know. It's always worthwhile paying travel insurance. So let me tell you what's really expensive. Riding motorbikes with flip-flops and having an accident, something to tell your friends at the local pub as to how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of bahts it costs you for this. Here's a picture of a guy that I know who drove a motorbike whilst drunk. He ended up having 2 toes amputated. It's an expensive hospital bill. So if you're moving here to Thailand full-time, then you need to look at the plans as well with regard to hospital care. I've got a plan with Pacific Cross. It doesn't pay a lot. It costs me 25,000 baht a year, and that's for 700,000 bahts worth of cover. Now I know there's going to be a lot of people saying 700,000 bahts worth of cover isn't a lot, but it's easier to find 25,000 baht than it is to try and find 700,000 baht. And if you have treatment in a public hospital, that money is going to go a lot further than if you go into a private hospital. So take note of your budget that you have and go with the flow and have some insurance costs, better than nothing at all. And if you can't do that, go self-insurance, have a self-insurance plan, have a stash of money or a credit card with some money available instantly, because sometimes when you get admitted to the public hospital, they want to see that you've got the money or the funds to pay for any treatment. And finally, don't rely on travel insurance to cover your costs for living here long term. So at the end of the day, when you're lying in hospital, isn't the time to argue with your insurance provider, looking at the small print to see whether you've obeyed all the rules and whether you're flouting the law, and therefore they can refuse payment. This is not the time to argue. Make sure that your insurance policy covers every single thing and don't try to fob the system. Mistake number 4, not preparing for long-term health needs. This is retirement, remember, not a vacation. So as we're getting older, we're getting more frail, and sometimes them flight of stairs that you have to climb up might not be so beneficial to your knees and things like that. So if you're going to be here 20, 30 years or so, have a think about what's going to happen to your future. And we've all had experiences of old people, and one day you're going to be old and one day you're going to suffer these type of things. So examine where you're living. Are you living in the right location? Have you got or will you have mobility issues? So do you need easier access to the supermarkets and hospitals and things like that? At the minute we live quite remote. We're 45 minutes away from the nearest hospital. I drive the car. My wife has just passed a test to drive the car. So now at least if I'm ill, my wife can drive me to the hospital. But just a few weeks or so ago, my wife wasn't able to drive the car, so therefore we would have to rely on ambulances and things like that. So think of, when you're getting older, what your needs may be. Choosing a condo with elevators and not just stairs. It's okay if it's 2 or 3 stories, but anything more than that. I have a friend who lives in an apartment block, and he lives on the 5th floor, and the lifts are out of order more times than he has hot dinners. So that becomes an issue. He's 85-year-old, his knees are struggling, and when the lifts don't work, he struggles to get up and down them stairs. So in some ways it makes him housebound because he's frightened to go out in case the lifts aren't working. Future assisted living support. I've done a couple of videos about this, assisted living. Now, assisted living is cheap over here, but it's not free. Do you need assisted living? You can actually get a nurse 24 hours a day for 30 to 40,000 baht per month. Again, I've done some videos on assisted living here. It is cheap, it is affordable, it's much, much cheaper than living in the UK or America or Australia. So look into that if you need personal care or even just help around the house. So even if you're looking at modifications in your house with regard to grab rails and things like that, wheelchair friendly access, you know, just make life comfortable for yourself, because we're all going to get old one day. Mistake number 5, moving to Thailand without proper research. Many people that I've talked to come to Thailand, never ever been to Thailand before, never researched it, just looked at the videos and thought, that looks a nice place. Again, some people say to me, you are living the dream, Les. It's beautiful, this is what I want. But then you have to actually come and live and research it yourself and find out whether you truly like it or not. Some people come here, they can't stand the really, really hot season and therefore they feel uncomfortable. And some people can't get over the language barrier. I've got over the language barrier. I can't speak Thai. You don't need to speak Thai. If you live in the sort of tourist locations, you can get by. Is it perfect? No, it isn't. Do I wish I could speak Thai? Yes, I do. But again, nothing is perfect here. But you have to live here for a while to find out of these problems and to see whether you can actually get over them or not. Of course, making the move to Thailand, there are so many different regions. There's the north, the mid and the south of Thailand. The north of Thailand, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, Pai, things like that, Udon Thani, is fantastic. But they have a burning season, so the polluted air causes an issue, and many, many people complain basically from the end of December to April is the burning season, and the air is very, very polluted. And that travels down to the south part of Thailand also. Beautiful and cheap it may be, but if you have breathing problems or health problems, it might be a place to avoid. Doing your research, you find all of these things out. Down south of Thailand, they have a lot more rain down south than they have in the mid-Thailand. Where we live in Rayong, again, Rayong, many people look upon Rayong as an industrial and chemical location. It is. It is known for industry and chemical and the gas industry, but we live 60 odd kilometres away from the chemical industry, so we're miles away from it. But some people just look at it first look and think, I don't want to live in that location. It's not on the tourist map, Rayong, because it isn't a tourist location, but it's got beautiful beaches, it's got beautiful restaurants. The living here is remarkably cheap, rental is cheap, food is cheap. You don't get ripped off like you do in some of the tourist locations. Living in Phuket, it's full of the Russians and the Chinese at the minute. Do you really want to live next door? Lots of Russians and Chinese. There's lots of trouble in Phuket at the minute because of what's going on. Very, very expensive to live in Phuket. Do you want to live in Pattaya or do you want to live in Bangkok? City life, entertainment life, it's fantastic. I remember when I was 52 when I came here to live full time, and I lived in Jomtien. So Pattaya was on my doorstep, and it was a fantastic place. It really, really opened my eyes. But in reality, could you live like that every day? I don't think so. Same with Bangkok. The pollution, the traffic, the noise. It's a bustling, exciting city to visit, but living there full time, would I want to do that? Not at all. So again, come and live in the various areas for 2 or 3 months at least, and that gives you a proper feel of the place. Do you want beaches, or do you want city life, or do you want rural life? There are big differences in every one of them. We live semi-rural here, so we've got the best of both worlds. We're surrounded by countryside and lakes, but we're only 8 minutes drive away from the beach. My wife has a house up in Karat, so every now and then we go up there, and that is rural. And again, I've done some videos on that, whether I could live in a rural lifestyle. And me personally, I couldn't live in a rural lifestyle because it's too quiet. I was the only foreigner in the village, so therefore there's the feeling of loneliness, isolation and things like that. These things you need to look at. Thailand has got some very beautiful locations, but you need to think of your own mental health with regard to loneliness, feeling included, being happy with your surroundings, and you certainly need the contact with other people. Public transport, is public transport available? Again, now you can use Grab or Bolt taxis around here. There are fewer here in Rayong than they are in Pattaya and Bangkok and things like that. But transportation, public transportation is a big, big thing. In Jomtien, when I lived in Jomtien, it was a 20-minute BART bus ride to Pattaya, and it was 20 baht, 40 pence. So it's very, very cheap to get around. But where I live here in Rayong, we need transport for sure, a motorbike or a car. You couldn't rely on taxis where I live. So location, location, location. And also expat communities, or the lack of. Again, the more rural you go, the less expat interaction you're going to have. So these are the things that you need to consider before you actually make the move to Thailand. So in a nutshell, this is what you need to do. Visit each place or location for a couple of months at first. Rent before you buy, if you're considering buying at all. Because rental, you can just move out. If you have bad neighbours, you can move out. But once you buy a place, you're stuck with it. Try different neighbourhoods. Again, Rayong, I use Rayong as an example because Rayong is a big, big province. And you can try different locations within Rayong, different neighbourhoods. See what you like, because one place is totally different to another. Talk to as many expats and locals as you can. I've had many conversations with people come to visit me in my house, and again, where my location here is no good for single people because there's absolutely nothing here. You need to have the girl, have the wife, and come to this rural location if you want a quiet life, which is what we want. We're not bar people. We don't go drinking all the time. We live in a nice little village and we're happy with how we live, but it may not suit everybody. And don't make decisions emotionally or after 3 cocktails on the beach. Have a clear head, clear mind before you jump into anything here in Thailand. Take legal advice, talk to others, do your research. So there it is. There's the 5 big mistakes that many expats make. If you follow this advice, you'll save yourself some money and some stress, and you'll live a happier life, I'm sure. Thailand is truly a tropical paradise, but even living in a tropical paradise needs research. It doesn't just happen. So thanks for watching. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe, leave a comment down below. I always answer every comment. I read every comment. So many thanks for watching. And from Les, Retired and Living the Dream, bye for now.